get the recording. All right, the recording is on. It is now 9:01 a.m. my time. Ta-da, 9:01. But anyways, good morning, good afternoon to everybody. You guys that are watching the recording in the future, hello, welcome. My name is Tony Salas, and hopefully you can all hear me okay. I'm not using the mic today, but I guess I forgot to hook it up. But anyways, I'm using my computer mic. It is August. What day is it? August 19th. 2025. So, like I said earlier to the crowd, we're enjoying some nice warm weather here. Nice warm weather. That's an understatement. It's going to be 110, 112 today. Yay. But anyways, those of you that have a swimming pool, God bless you. You're very blessed. But in this case, well, what's been going on? Well, in the diesel community, I guess you all been seeing about this thing about rolling back. Because it's rolling back to, what is it, 2009 or 2007 standards? I forget. Somebody correct me here if I'm incorrect. So I guess a lot of people have been talking about on social media saying, you know, well, if I got busted by the feds, by the EPA, am I going to get a reprieve or do I not get my fine money back? There's a lot of talk. But here's the deal, though. As you are getting all happy and stuff, in 2007 through actually it's 2007 through 2010, almost model years, we actually had DPFs, so diesel particulate filter. And one thing I've always said in my class is that I can live with diesel particulate filters. That's no biggie deal. But SCR, yeah, one thing I've criticized SCR is the fact that SCR, the software sucks. You know, because it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you got to reprogram, you got to execute all these different commands, depending on what make and model, reset, and all this. And in that don't work, then you're going to have to reflash it. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to be done. So therefore, we all know that the manufacturers were meeting the current standards. So therefore, those trucks were manufactured to actually meet those standards. So they're rolling back. You know, like I said, I've seen so much social media saying, I can delete. That's like, yes, maybe you can delete. I don't know yet, but what I'm saying is, have we seen problems like we've discussed in the past with the use of deletes? So therefore, as they use deletes, you know, what's going to happen here? So I have yet to see, and if I have seen it, maybe I should be fair. I've only seen maybe a handful of trucks that have been deleted, and they will go long time. In other words, a lot of miles. So it's always that they put an extreme delete program and they'll blow a motor up because they're towing with it, and extreme delete, you know. So therefore, we've always have said in the past, those that used to delete or they're deleting, is that they're actually saying, yeah, don't, you know, put it on the stock, most stock side, so you don't have, you know, when you're towing, and then when you're not towing, put it on a high side if you want to go buck wild with all the power and stuff. But again, I don't think we're out of the woods in terms of the longevity or the engine failures we can have along with other components like turbos. So we'll talk more about that as we get going here. So if you have any say, by all means, please ask, make your comments. Well, as promised, though, we got to get to the lead lady here, which is Miss Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Why don't you show us your wonderful personality and face there, Miss Kelly. And
give me 1 second.
I'm going to stop the share here. And we're going to let you share. So hit the share button and share your PowerPoint or whatever you got going there.
Okay. Sorry, I'm used to Teams. So
when you move your mouse, you should see a share button that says, and just hit share. It's the highlighted.
Is it at the bottom?
Or on the top, it could go either or. When you move your mouse, it should pop up.
No, it doesn't.
I should say share because I made you co-host. Let me double check that.
Yeah.
Check.
I don't see anything where it says share.
Do you see the bar that says audio, video?
Yeah, audio video at the bottom there, yeah.
Okay, so if you move to the right, it should show a button to say share. Let me double check your settings here.
Yeah.
Tony, on mine, it's got share at the bottom.
Yep.
Mine doesn't have anything about share. It says participants chat, react. Oh, there it is. I found it.
Found it?
Sorry. Yes, sir.
You'd have your PowerPoint there.
Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay,
Oh,
let me get two PowerPoints.
You didn't put it in show mode.
Yeah. Oh. There we go. Okay, can y'all see that?
Yes, we can. I can.
And because I'm going to be covering, kind of a vast array of tools and for specific applications, I don't know, Tony, if you want me to pause between each slide and ask if people have any questions, or if you want to just do it at the end.
We can do it at the end, but if there is a question here and there, please do ask. I mean, this is an open forum, so it's okay.
Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Tony. I love being part of these very educational talks. So a lot of you have possibly heard of Promaxx Tools, and I like to talk about, some of the tools that are our best sellers that help the most, and that's basically mostly our focus. Is we want to address, the main issues and challenges that businesses and technicians face on a daily basis. Keeping productivity. If you're charging for a repair and say you only charge for 5 hours labor, and then it takes a left turn, which a lot of can happen very easily, you can lose a lot of money on some of these engine repairs, and that's what our tools address. The engineered precision performance tooling. We do make all of our own tools right here in southwestern Pennsylvania. Some of you I know are very familiar with our tools and use a lot of them. So that's very important to, end users and business owners. The safety of using our tools and getting the repairs done very quickly, and in a quality manner, is something that also our tools address, as well as tech shortage. A lot of these businesses that are 1 or 2 bays, stay afloat. What is a bay worth for you, or what's a lift worth to you on a daily basis? And what is, you having a good technician. A lot of people that I talk to, and I travel around the country like Tony and talk to a lot of you guys, you're in the trenches in it, like business owners, as well as your technicians, and being able to retain good quality technicians is something very difficult, especially in the diesel industry. So tech shortage is a serious problem nationwide, and with our tools, it is like a training wheels. It is a guarantee that you're going to get a critical engine repair completed in a timely manner, with quality, with even a green tech. Okay. Some of our most useful, I'd say, ROI, your first time use, is going to be for the 6-7 power stroke. Very common issues with the 6-7 power stroke: the broken EGR bolts from current. To the early years from first production to current, including the 6 and 8 millimeter sizes, accessibility. And this is taking about 45 minutes to 60 minutes versus, 5 hours plus, and trying to freehand drill. Like I said, very, very simple concept of, a plate, a template, if you will, keeping you dead centered, and you're drilling small, medium, large, and sometimes over drilling, just to correct and better the quality of the threads, and putting in solid steel inserts to just tapping back to factory at times. For also at the bottom here is our second best seller, for the 6-7 power stroke fuel injector haul down bolts. You know that there are 8 of them. So, this could also quickly turn into a hairy, ugly nightmare for you, and having to remove the cab and the head, sending it to a machine shop. And I've never seen a machine shop that wasn't at least 70% at capacity and getting that back in a timely manner. They're doing it in approximately 90 minutes or less, and that's start to finish. ROI first use, of course. More for the 6-7 power stroke, and some of these are newer, and I'm going to mention some newer tools that we have coming down the pipeline, because I do work so closely with the engineer. Some other repairs, that have been asked for. One of you, Matthew Mooser, is on here. We got one done quickly for him for the Duramax. But going back to the 6-7 Power Stroke, the Robbie tool, this is to repair the seat. And as you can see to the right there, when the fuel injectors get stuck, especially, the ones back at 3, 7, 4, and 8 under the cab, we know that these injectors take on the most heat, almost 12 to 1500 degrees. And what happens is over time, as you can see the before picture, the coke buildup and the extreme amount of tiny little pits that get burned into the seat will create a serious problem when you're going to put a new fuel injector in there, and to seal properly, getting the maximum of peak productivity as well as fuel efficiency. And a lot of times what's happening is that these injectors are not even sealing because of the amount of pits that are burned into the seat of this truck. So they can't even get the injectors to stay, and we're having to overnight these tools more and more. It takes 20 to 15, 20 seconds. You use it by hand, turning the knob a few times. As you can see, it's heavy duty bladed, spring loaded, and it's controlled, as you can see, with washers here and here. So you're only going to take off about 5/1000 of an inch, plenty of room there to use this tool multiple times on the same truck, putting a new copper seal down in there and getting the new fuel injector to stay perfectly sealed. And as you can see the after picture, I mean, smooth as a baby's bottom, just like new factory. This tool here, and we do sell these together, and there's multiple packages that are combination packages. I just wanted to keep them separate to keep it easier to retain. This tool here is our first 200 series fuel injector puller. It worked very well for a long time, and what else had been on the market where everything that you had to thread it into the cylinder head took a lot of time. Also, it was made from cast. It was very janky, very sloppy, and it damaged quite often in my findings. And our fuel injector puller here is the only one that you're not going to thread in the cylinder head. Like I said, I call this injector puller great for mild to moderately stuck injectors. And I'm sure all of you have seen the vast range of mild to severe. And here, using for the front 4 to 6 injectors with the cab not having to be removed, and then using the lift kit for the back of 2 or 4 injectors, depending on the model, for clearance and not having to remove the cab. Just threads directly right onto the top of the Bosch injector, and then you're going to pop it out with a 2-pound slide hammer. And like I said, the lift kit works very well. Sits right down into the fuel injector hold down bolt hole and pops it up using the lift kit application. This is a newer tool that we came out with for this Ford 6-7 Power Stroke. We are currently making one for the Duramax as well. And this tool goes down in there. It's pretty neat. As you can see the pictures below, goes down in there and pulls out that copper seal. A lot of times in my findings, obviously, with the Bosch injectors, that nozzle tip will erode quite so much so that the fuel just leaks right out of it. And that copper seal will either drop down into the head or the can't talk today, excuse me, the valve cover, or back down in there, or it will be soldered from the immense heat and it getting damaged for the pits being burned in there, the coke buildup. A lot of times those copper seals will get soldered and get stuck down in there. And the only thing that technicians are able to do right now is to go down blind and try to get it out with a pick. So this tool is really cool. It's just, takes a couple seconds, pulls it right out, or it saves it from falling down into the valve cover. This one I really like, and I was excited for. We came out with about a year ago, but didn't market it or debut it until the beginning of this year. And this is our first ever 100% air-powered air hammer fuel injector puller. And I know a bunch of you have probably seen pneumatic air fuel injector pullers. This is nothing else like it. Nothing as powerful as this. And we made this for the most severely stuck injectors. As you saw, my previous 2 slides was our 200 series, and this is what we call our 900 series fuel injector puller. We have one for, of course, the 6-7 Power Stroke, the Duramax, as early as LOI, LMM, LBZ, with a separate adapter is LGH, LML, and then of course the L5P, L5D. And with just different adapters, same bidirectional air hammer. We own this patent, so there's nothing else like it on the market. It's very, very powerful, uses the technology of the LTI Shocket technology of harmonic vibration, as well as the patented technology of pulling 3,000 beats per minute with just a hit of a button and getting out the most severely stuck injectors within seconds. Unmatched technology and power and anything else that's on the market. It is a fabulous, fabulous tool. And leaving the cab intact, going up from this page, this here is a good example of how you would go up to injectors 3, 7, 4, and 8, or the back injectors of not having to lift the cab. And this is a good scenario picture of using it in the more front injectors where the clearance will allow you. This is just a quick overview of the bidirectional air hammer and what makes it so special in its way. Like I said, it is patented and technology, and there's actually, you know, moving away from pulling injectors, there are so many possible application and use of this tool. And, you know, I'm going to go show you a little bit more of, you know, what it can do on my next pages of using the LTI Shocket series tools. So LTI started, you know, its big debut in the market, you know, back in the day with the lockout tools. And then they came up with the Shocket technology of using harmonic vibration. It's the power of air, but yet it's as gentle that won't strip or gall the threads of any fastener and anything that you can imagine, of any size. So, and anywhere on the vehicle, not just on vehicle, industrial, I mean, household, anywhere that you can think of that is very minimal space, and doesn't allow lateral movement. And these tools here are the solution to that. The XLs are newer, and that's really for our industrial heavy duty industry. Think about, you know, the hydraulic banks of how close those, you know, the lines are. I mean, this is just a fabulous, phenomenal tool to, you know, really cut time down and getting these fasteners loosened and not have to gall or strip the threads. Moving on down, we have obviously lots of different two different types and lots of different sizes, SAE and metric, for both the XLs and the standard Shockets. And line wrenches, as you can see, are to be placed on a fastener. And then we have the crow's feet, which would be for anything up in the air, lateral, where, you know, it would need to be where it needs to hang on to something. And like I said, SAE and metrics are available on all sizes, and these nice foam, keeping it very organized for you, and in placement and accessibility. The Shocket drivers as well, same concept of the Shocket technology of using harmonic vibration, only it turns it into a Shocket or socket driver and being able to use your sockets. And these are some of the key performance indicators that I had mentioned before, went over. And as you can see, I wanted to also mention that you can see that there are blatant punches that are angled. And we do that for a reason, because on the end of every piece here where you have to place the punch is an 8mm dimple. And it's very important that these punches stay on task, which the new air hammer that we have will allow that to happen with 3,000 beats per minute. It's a ½ inch shorter stroke than any other air hammer out there. And that also immensely helps keeping it on task, as well as see how there are articulations on the base here where it goes into the air hammer. That'll keep the punch from spinning in the air hammer. Also helping it stay on task. For the light medium to the heavy duty diesel, guys that work on these trucks. This is our most universal tool. It is not limited to exhaust manifold. Below is my list of engines, and it does so much more than that I don't know of this tool working on. With any linear bolt pattern from 8mm to 3/8 to 10, multiple pitches, the 125, the 150, as well, all the way up to the 12mm. Sorry.
You can use your arrow buttons to move back too.
I tried and it didn't let me. Okay, sorry. Where am I?
Oh, it took you out of show mode, yeah, there you go.
There you go. Keeping my hands away. So this is, like I said, not limited to exhaust manifold. Anywhere that you can bolt this up to, whether it's, like I said, any inline bolt pattern. I've seen them working on bell housing, so a curvature pattern. This will keep you dead centered on, like I said, any of those size bolts, drilling them out and to tap them back to factory. These are just, I know you guys are mostly diesel guys, but these are some of the most common larger gas engines that we see in our industry to drilling out problematic broken bolts for the Ford, the LS and LT motors, as well as the Hemis. Same concepts, keeping you centered, drilling small, medium, large, tapping it back to factory. Again, exhaust manifold repair for the 6.6 Duramax. Now this one, I mean, I don't know if you guys work on any of the 3.5s or some of these smaller motors, but this one was already in this presentation. This is a really, really cool, it's very similar to the 900 series fuel injector pullers for the 6.1 Power Stroke and the Duramax. These are the problematic, the EcoBoost fuel injectors that are the direct ones that gets severely stuck for all the up above the 1.0, 1.5, 3.5 through 7. As we know, with the turbos in these injectors and bolts, they get extremely stuck or hardened because of the immense heat. And we've applied the 900 series technology of making the first ever air power fuel injector puller for these engines as well, pulling them out in minutes. Although this is going to add a little bit more of additional application, because you're going to have to drill into the injector itself, tap it, and then put the insert in, the adapter, and then pulling it out directly. This is a great tool, LTI tool, is part of the LTI Shocket family using the Shocket technology. This will work on the Duramax, the Cummins, the Power Stroke, the Eco Diesels, and some of the International and the Detroit diesel engines. This is the O2 and the diesel particulate sensor removal tools, as well as the rethreaders and the chasers. And every time I've showed this tool to guys that, work on these engines, the rethreaders and the chasers alone is something that they go after. It's a lifetime warranty. It's 24 and 22mm. We have the deep sockets of the 24, the 22, and of course the low profile sockets for the 24 and 22, rethreaders and chasers and things like that, and also a punch. Great tool, ROI first or second use, just the time savings and the lateral accessibility where space doesn't. And that is all I have for my presentation.
All righty. Okay, any questions? Oops, no, I got mouse problems. All righty.
All right, Kelly, you teased us. Where do you get this stuff?
Oh, through me, promaxxtools.com.
Got it. All right.
Or I can send you my information. You guys can always order directly.
Okay. All right.
And we still got that discount code.
And yes, I was going to say, Tony, there is a discount on there for online purchases for the 15%, or I would also honor that discount code as well.
Yes. So, I gotta tell you from experience, I see a lot of these issues with, especially with the seats and the seals for the injectors on that 6.7 you started off with. They wind up with compression leaks.
Yes.
So it's something that a lot of techs are doing because we live in a time now that every time we pull an injector on any diesel, we have to be looking down that injector bore and see she's all clean. A lot of guys don't.
Right. Yeah, a lot of guys and don't even do that because they weren't aware of this problem.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, that's why I teach a class. I say you got to get a flashlight, get under a borescope, and get in there, take a look at what's inside there. So
Yes,
so,
very true.
same thing applied with GM's talking about in their GM service procedures. They talk about also taking a look at that using some kind of borescope too. So
Yes. Oh, and I did want to mention, I forgot, we do have new tools coming. I saw Matthew friendly face pop up. We made a valve cover repair tool for the 6.6 Duramax, drilling out the broken bolts in the valve covers. We have one coming out for the 6.7 Power Stroke as well.
any questions for Miss Kelly, for any of you? I go, Matthew, you've been using it, right? So you've been working with Kelly before?
Yes, so I'll comment here unless others have questions first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would just say, having used this tooling on the 6.7 particular, but we've used on, it's largely, I guess, 6.7 Fords, all the tools, I would say, definitely would give a recommendation for the usage. They've certainly had a few of them where they've made some improvements, and I think some of those are helpful. But one of the things we see on the 6.7s in particular, talking about the coppers, Tony, you probably know we've talked about the erosion around the nozzles on the 6.7s that have the EGR eating away the nozzles being ate away, and well, that often lets the copper lay in the bottom, or come off the injector, and there's where, again, being able to get that out of there without pulling the valve cover is a big deal, because if it gets away with that gap in between the valve cover not being all the way down, that's a big deal. Plus, then obviously if the nozzle gets or the carbonization on the copper down there becomes a problem. And we are seeing, as Kelly was referring to, some broken off bolts in the valve cover from oxidation, both the upper cover as well as the actual cylinder head itself. And we've had some real challenges in getting some of those out. So getting a proper alignment, I can't agree more that getting that dead on is a big deal for sure. So I definitely, any of the rest of them that's on here, or anybody that hears this on a replay, I certainly would recommend the usage of the tools. Certainly costly, but then again, what time saved is a lot there as well. So definitely recommend it.
Thank you, Matthew. And with the help from, guys like Matthew, he came to us wanting a solution for the Duramax valve cover. And, to anybody out there that is, wrenching every day, that's dealing with these problems that are, timely, very costly. If you have an idea about a tool that you want made, certainly come to us, come to me directly. I work very closely with the engineer team. And like I said, because we have our own machine shop, we're very dynamic. We can make something, within a couple days and get it turned around and sent out. And then you would get the first tool for free.
And I'll also just chime in here for those who seeing that reverse air hammer concept and saying, oh, well, I can make a tool and get them out. We have used that reverse air hammer here, and it does work. We've had some injectors stuck on 6.7s that I'm not sure how we would actually got them out had we not had that tool. It didn't come out just right away. One of them was really stuck badly, and we tried using. They have basically a forcing screw mechanism to actually force the injector out. It wasn't coming that way, so we got the air hammer on, and after a number of different tries, finally was able to work that carboned up injector out. So definitely think that's all that vibration is very helpful.
Thank you, Matthew, for that testimony.
Hey, Matt, I have a quick question for you. With Kelly's setup across drilling the holes on center and everything, have you used that on the exhaust side of that cylinder head to replace the busted bolts on the exhaust manifolds?
So I have used particularly, they've got that EGR, where they're coming off the passenger's manifold where you've got the EGR pipe that comes across over
Right.
to the cooler, and we have that tool and it works excellent.
Thank you.
As far as the actual ones in the head itself, I'm trying to remember if we have done that at all or not. I don't recall right offhand, but definitely the EGR portion is very common if you're taking that to remove a cooler or whatever. That tool works very well in centering things up. And we also have used the tool with a broken off bolt in the lower, down in the cylinder head also. I think I might have mentioned that. Where we're working with them a little bit on is the one in the upper part of the valve cover, because they do oxidize up there too. And you about got all, if you're not, can't get it quite straight, just a little bit off, you're replacing the valve cover. And with one of them here we had to deal with, we ended up basically kind of milling out the outside of that bolt because it was previously I had a valve cover on a Duramax that we ended up had to pull a head on. So they're working on getting that centered up, and I think that'll be real helpful too, because that oxidation is going down through the bolt on some applications, through the valve cover as well as the head. Not in every one, of course, but certainly they are out there like that.
Thanks,
Great
Matt.
question, Lee. And yeah, and like Matthew was saying, there are different templates for different applications. And because we do make everything, the same drill bits are going to be in all of the kits, whether it's for exhaust manifold, exhaust manifold, or the fuel injector hold down bolt, or the EGR bolts. We do have carbide solutions as well. If you're familiar with the engineering hardness scale, the Rockwell scale, our drill bits rank out at 55 on hardness level. Most that you find would be around a 45 that are consumer grade. And like I said, ours are machine grade, 135 split point, and they're also M42s versus M35. So they do have 8% alloy versus the 5% that's common. And of course, we offer free unlimited tech support. So if you purchase any of our tools and you have any issues, you get my number directly and you call me anytime. And if I can't answer the question, then I'll get the engineer on the phone.
Very good. Any other questions? Well, Kelly, can you give us your info so we can have it on record here?
Yes, of course. How would you like me to share it?
You can either put it up on a slide or you can just say it verbally.
Yeah, I'll put it up on a slide. Just give me a minute or two. I'll let you know.
Put it up on the slide. Very good. Yeah, and this all goes back to doing the job right, because I was at a few shops here in Las Vegas here a few days ago, and let me tell you, some of the sloppy work I see, they're doing R&R on engines like on an F450, and it's scary how they leave the harnesses, the connectors, and everything else. So it's, doing the job right is very important. So I would attribute a lot of the failures that we see is because of poor repair, exhaust leaks. God, the exhaust leaks on those exhaust manifolds. We see issues with the injectors and so on. We see power contribution and so on. So it all goes back to knowing how to do the job right. So these tools definitely do aid. That's why, we support Promaxx and what they're doing. So therefore, hopefully you can see the benefit of having those kind of tools. So there you go. So there, that's about it.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll share right now.
Oh, let me stop my share. Hold on, Kelly. Sorry. All right, now you can go ahead.
And I can send this to you if you want, Tony.
Do me that favor, so we can help promote you. We appreciate you being here.
Sorry, I was trying to share from the wrong place. Share.
You'll get the hang of it. Don't worry.
Yeah. There we go. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, there you go. So that's how you get a hold of her. 724-413-8217. There you go. And there's her email. And again, if you got an idea for a tool, you heard what the lady said. She says, willing to listen. So
Yep.
Lord knows there's some few tools I have made that they're sitting in my toolbox that we had to get creative. So I'm sure Lee has his toolbox there too. So
I've been very impressed with what I've seen around the country with some of you guys' innovation and determination of making a solution.
First trip, Tony, is to Harbor Freight to get a piece of crap tool so I can chop it all up.
Yeah.
How many of my old Craftsman sockets have I butchered? It's like,
You got it.
and then we welded it to a rod and something like that to make it work. It's like, yeah, that's not good. So, all righty, that's very good. Thank you, Kelly. We thank her very much. A great little mini presentation you gave us. We appreciate it. As always, she's been here before. She's giving us a discount, so therefore you may want to take advantage of it. But again, it's something that we all need to keep in mind on how to do the job faster. And like she says, since we're dealing with a lot of technicians that in other words, that shortage, we need to get this job done fast, because probably the most biggest thing in training right now has been the fact that they don't have enough technicians and they're trying to knock out the work. And the classic line is, I love to send my guys to training, but I'm just so shorthanded, so therefore the tooling does help to make the job go faster and get the truck out of there. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Tony.
That's thank you enough. All right, shifting gears. One of the things you're gonna see me offer is I've been working on my electrical boards and doing some intense, revamp of what we're seeing today, whether being voltage drop testing, which we talked about before, and also, again, understanding what's going on with EV community. Some of your shops are automotive/diesel shops. So I've had a few phone calls. Hey, Tony, do you have any kind or know anybody does EV training? And for me, I've been working with a gentleman named Mark Weller. And you guys, if you go in our history, you're going to see Mark Weller's presentation we did on another roundtable. We did a webinar/roundtable, and he did a good presentation of blowing up fuses and showing all that high voltage stuff on an EV. But what I'm trying to get at is sometimes when I've had shop owners talk to me, and even just lately of the issues that we're seeing, is that, I put the slide from one of my presentations on charging systems. And I guess if I really want to stump a technician and he gets on my nerves a little bit, and he's like, oh, I know this and I know that. I go, all right, tell me how an alternator works, oops, not supposed to be called alternator anymore. It's generator. So therefore, tell me how an alternator generator works. How's it work? How do you diagnose it? And in my presentations, we talk about Power Stroke 6.7, and we talk about that yellow wire. And those of you that worked on 6.7 Power Strokes know about the yellow wire if you've ever worked on that issue. And turns out that, many shops have actually replaced, generator alternator, and that didn't charge. It's still charging. The light's on the dash, not charging. I'm going to put another one on. Put another one on. So to the point that some shops, they've been put on warning from the local auto parts, like the local AutoZone, AutoZone, Napa, and so on, that told them, hey, you know what? We can't be doing this because you have a huge comeback. So with all the technology we got, I guess what I'm trying to get to is a lot of guys don't even know how to diagnose the basics of what a charging system should look like, how it should work. So this carries over to the diagnostic things that I deal with. And once again, those of you that know the kind of calls that I get, those calls are, we did this, we did that, and they pretty much have eliminated 98% of what I would have done, and they're pretty sharp. But then we get to the point that, okay, what do we do now? It's like we try this, try that, try this, try that, and it gets to the point of also what is going on with power. In other words, your power distribution, along with your state of charge of the charging system, which includes the battery. And I can tell you how many times that has been the issue. So we tend to overlook number one is the importance of the charging system, and two is the state of charge of the battery and what the charging system does. So when we teach the L5P class, we talk about the default voltage that occurs on a Duramax if there's a field failure issue inside of that generator. And it'll actually default to what? Anybody remember what the voltage was? It was 13 point. So if you remember, so I believe it was 13.6, it'll default to that. So that means, it doesn't mean that it's charging. It means that we definitely have a problem. So understanding that the body control module now is the decider on an L5P Duramax of what that alternator generator will do. Now, obviously, there's still a regulator inside of it, but that regulator is controlled not by the ECM, but now by the body control module. So, excuse me, I'm saying that wrong. The body control module makes the decision, and he gets the input from the actual current sensor that's on the battery, and that in turn tells the ECM what to do with the alternator generator. So the ECM is not the ultimate control on what's going on with it. So again, we need to gain understanding of that. So one thing we're going to be talking about as we go into electrical is, talking about something as basics as how the diode trio works and how it does affect the output of an alternator, making sure we don't have no AC leakage. So, and guys, some of you know you got cheap parts out there. Have we seen issues with cheap parts? Yeah. So therefore, that can cause a lot of issues too as well. So, and that includes the quality of the alternator AC you got working on. So there you go. Lee, you've been teaching for quite a few years. Has that been the issue too for you, Mr. Lee? Or did he leave us? I think Jim's on there. Jim, are you out there? My friend Jim Wilson is out there too. Or anybody. Has anybody seen this to be the issue too? Boy, everybody's quiet now. Well, anyways, hopefully you have seen that to be the issue. But I guess my point to you is definitely don't take it for granted that, maybe you do know how an alternator does work. And like I've said before, traveling to different places, especially in Mexico, it's amazing how they fix stuff. We don't just get another part. So therefore, they understand how it works, and we should too as well. All right. So just a keynote there when it comes to charging systems. Obviously, let me get this slide moving. There is voltage drop tests you can perform on the charging system. There are worksheets if you like a copy of these. I even seen Napa's version of this and their sheet. And in this case, it's pretty impressive how they want you, when you turn in a warranty, you need to do these voltage drop tests as well. So therefore, you're checking your ground side, you're checking again your positive side, making sure that you don't have any kind of faults in the cabling or the conductance or the wiring that goes between the cranking motor and the cranking motor, the alternator, and everybody in between there. So you're trying to check all that. So definitely want to pay attention to that. So therefore, yeah, we got them. And since we're still working, I mentioned this before on a previous roundtable, but I've been doing, as a matter of fact, later on today, I got to go get in the heat. I got these people begging for AC repair. Yesterday's car that I did, they were told they needed a compressor. They didn't need a compressor. They needed a TXV. So therefore, it's like, yeah, misdiagnosis of AC is not funny. And again, and just that I remember right now, please note, I put the AC 3-part class. 1 and 2 is on my Diesel Talk with Tony Salas YouTube. And part 3, I'll be releasing probably later this week. I'll remember to upload it and put it up there. So if you want to know a little bit about AC, definitely look at that. But one of the things we discuss in that video is, like I said before, is the understanding of relays, but also the clutch failure. So we've seen, who knows how many compressors already we've seen fail. But again, some of the shops I've talked to, repetitive failures, and some have heeded my advice. And they said, yeah, we've definitely found an issue with the relay. We found low voltage going to the clutch. And that was the problem that was taking out the compressor. So therefore, hopefully with that electrical knowledge, like I said, you're actually carrying over. So as I've been talking about in the past before, again, the relay importance, the voltage importance. So I guess the whole point of me talking about this is the fact that we want you guys to get masters at that electrical, in other words, what you're doing. Now, I've been working with a few technicians this month where I've been doing one-on-one training. We've been logging in on Zoom. We spent an hour. And one of the things that we've been covering has been one exceptional technician I'm working with. He's really advanced. And one of the things I was talking about is sensor voltage and viewing what the sensor signal is. Like for example, you look at ICP, you look at fuel rail pressure, you look at all this stuff, and you find out that, is the signal voltage correct? And then we get into what causes a sensor to go into a default mode. And default mode means that if the sensor circuit has got a problem, the computer will ignore it and put up a default value. The question is that default value designed to actually keep the truck from running or keep it running? So it could be either or, depending on the manufacturer. So therefore, we need to look at sensor voltages. We've seen high pressure oil pumps. We've seen other components repaired, all because of an erroneous sensor signal. And the guy says, well, I saw that it had a temperature. I saw that it had a pressure, whatever the reading was from the sensor, but they didn't look at the sensor signal voltage that is readily available in your scan data. So make it a habit that anytime you look at scan data, you want to look at always not just a sensor reading like a temperature, a pressure, whatever it might be, but you also want to look at that sensor's voltage. What is that signal voltage? See if it is where it's supposed to be. So again, that's a biggie that I've been coming across, that these guys just don't read the data, or do they plot the data, especially with an intermittent problem. So take advantage of your graphs. And probably in the future, I'll probably do a class where I'm going to be sitting in a truck like I did before years ago. I used to sit in trucks and have my scan tool hooked up, and you guys could see what I'm doing. I guess we're going to be doing that again. So hopefully that'll help you in your understanding and in your diagnostics. So there you go. All right. Anybody have any comments about that? Hopefully, you can see the benefit of that, of using scan data. So definitely we'll take comments on that if you have any comments on it. So
Tony,
yo,
Matthew here. I do have a comment on it, and I'll try to keep it short. It's obviously a lot more involved than can say in 2 minutes, but I have an 2008 Max Force DT here. We're dealing with that very problem right now on both ICP voltage as well as EGT temp 1, 2, and 3 voltages are off, and we're setting faults for it. Have been over a number of different things, but as an example, temp 1 on EGT 1, when ambient temperature is 70 to 80 degrees, we're running roughly about 100 degrees. Temp 2 and 3 are roughly about 160 degrees, and the truck's never been started at all through the day. So we've been going over grounds. There's a number of things we got to continue to go on. In fact, I may even talk to you later after the call at some point, a little bit where we're at with it. But just basically reiterating what you're saying, it is an issue to be looking for. Look at the voltages and stuff like that. We've got the ICP voltage on this particular truck. Instead of being down at about a quarter of a volt, we're running up about a 0.28, almost 3.0 volt. We've even replaced the ICP sensor. And I'm just going along with what you're saying there is we've got to zone in and look at that to make sure we're where we belong, because obviously if we're not right, that's going to affect the runnability of the engine and also set faults that maybe sometimes don't fully realize the impact to your zeroing in on it. So yeah.
The classic one also is not just voltage signals, also the messages. I talked about this at a previous DDR, and a guy called me late last week, and he said that he had a Duramax. It just didn't have the same power, and it had okay fuel economy. And one of the things I talked about is looking at turbo learn. And I said, just out of curiosity, tell me, how's your turbo learn? And he goes, well, I never looked at it. I go, yeah, what do you got on your data? But it has no code set for it. I go, I don't care. What's your turbo learn say? And in this case, turns out it was reading no. So therefore, he had a problem, which most likely, he hasn't gotten back to me, but most likely he had a partially restricted exhaust. So causing that turbo not to go to yes, turbo learn to go to yes. So the moral of the story, and that's, again, something I'm going to have to review and teach later on in future roundtables, is that looking at all the data, not just voltages, obviously, but also looking at the data like turbo learn. So therefore, I wish you guys can come to my world and see what I deal with on a daily basis somehow. So I'm one of those few guys that's stupid enough to give my phone number. So I already got, I think it rang twice already. But in this case, got to do your homework. So therefore, what we're going to be doing is we're going to do more electrical. So therefore, you're going to see more electrical being offered, and hopefully help you guys, with training and so on. So therefore, also visit my website, which is powertraintraining.com. I also have classes in Wisconsin coming up in late September with Alliant Power. So we're going to be doing Duramax A through Z, which is everything about that we can cover in Duramax in 2 days. So therefore, we'll start with the LB7, obviously end up with the L5P and talk about all the issues and do a lot of show and tell. I told my new trucks there. And for those of you that haven't been to the Windsor Alliant Power location, let me tell you, they give a tour, because that's where they do all the Alliant Power stuff. I mean, from rebuilding FICMs, as you can see on my screen, to injectors and so on. So they really go out of our way to actually show us stuff. So that's a great facility for me to teach at. So I'll be there, and then we'll be doing Power Stroke A through Z, which is going to cover the 6.0s. I'll mention 7.3s, but it'll be from 6.0s to 6.7, talking about that for 2 days. So we're going to have that class there in Wisconsin as well. So you guys have been requested some training again. We're doing it, but we still have the online. Now, I get shops that are just so bad about they say, well, yeah, if you put it online, I'll do it. But if you offer it, I'll be there too. And they don't show, but they're the ones that call the most. So those of you that do that, guess what? I'm starting to cut people off because obviously it's a give and take type of thing. I mean, if you support the train, you support the websites, because all these websites that I got, from the Diesel TG to my website to the other ones I got, they're not cheap. So they got to be maintained. So in what we ask is obviously support for that. So definitely we need your support on that. So yeah, so therefore, definitely we have the online. And Matthew, since I just saw you, you better log in again to the online. You're still on. I saw that, because we've added a whole bunch since you've been there. I was looking at your file. So you may want to log in again. I didn't cut, you're still on. So therefore you may want to see all the stuff I uploaded there. So there's been a lot more there. So word of thought there. So, all right. And any other questions, any other events that have happened to you guys? Obviously we like to hear from new people. Lee, anything you'd like to kick in there? I know you're there, Lee. I saw your chat.
Well, Tony, I just here lately, I can't believe how many outputs of relays I've found lower voltage. A lot of times we'll replace the relay like you describe in your slide, but you got 12 volts going to the relay and you got like 9.2 coming out. And I'm going, well, that ain't going to work.
Nope.
That's not going to work.
Just something else while you were talking about relays. That's all.
Well, yeah, it's so vastly not even checked properly. So, and the sad fact is we see components replaced, even computers, so therefore that's not the issue. It's a power supply. So, but again, it goes back to voltage drop testing again. So that's why we're pushing that. So, and those of you that have not had training, those of you watching the recording, please note that, the training is, we do it on the board, we understand it, but then what we're going to do is we're going to apply it on the truck and what you should be checking. So, and as these trucks age, this is going to be a bigger problem. So they're going to be more. So, yeah.
Hey, Tony.
Yo.
One other thing is, when you're looking at your sensor values, let's say you're looking at, you don't have a throttle position sensor, but I just did this. We had a throttle position sensor was too high, and we had a drivability problem with a particular car. The reason was we had high resistance on the ground to the sensor, which would kick your voltage up. And so when he was saying readings are higher than normal, always check your grounds to make sure they're working properly. Just normal.
Yeah, it's important. That's one thing is a lot of guys have not understood, that your power or your positive potential is just as important as your negative or your negative potential. So yeah, you need to have good grounds. Yes.
What's the question I had?
What's that?
Yeah.
What was that? Or somebody else?
Yeah.
Oh, is Ryan talking to us, or is he talking to somebody else?
Oh, sorry. I'll mute myself.
Okay. Anyways, all right. So therefore, yeah, that's definitely so. Probably, I think I'll make it a point. You'll see a posting. We'll see. In other words, I'll log into a vehicle. I'll do my presentation live from a vehicle. We'll show you all that. Those of you that are novice to it, we'll try to help you out with that, because that's the whole purpose of the roundtable. But since we got 5 minutes left, just a word. We got. I talked to Lenny over at Dynamite Diesel. So he might be on next month or the following month. And I also talked to Mr. Haas, who does a lot of shop consulting there and coaching. So I talked to them. They're all willing to do a speaking too. So we're going to have more speakers coming up here in the upcoming months. So we're going to be running more roundtables. Hopefully, guys will see the benefit. But even though our numbers are low here, the numbers on those people watching the recordings have been very good. So therefore, thanks to those of watching the recordings that couldn't make it, but we'll definitely do that. So any other comments? Any comments? Any other comments? Comments? It's always nice to see Mr. Wilson here. Thank you, and all the rest of you. So, well, if nobody has any more comments or questions, I guess we'll cut it 4 minutes early, but that's okay, because we can do short ones too. We've done long ones as well. But so yeah, please look at our training. And again, if those of you that are not familiar with my blog or the forums that we have, it seems like they change the names every so many years, but dieseltg.com, dieseltg, which is training group, that's where you can post problems or issues, and technicians are helping. It's been a little slow, so we got to get it moving again, because I know that a lot of guys have issues and they're calling me and calling other people, and you could be posting. And Matthew's been good about posting there. So again, we expect you guys, or we appreciate if you can actually log in there too, and put so many ideas or things you want to put up there. So,
Tony, I do got a question for you here.
Yes, sir.
L5P, or across the country, are you running into many trucks yet having problems, major fuel system problems, contamination, that sort of thing, or are you not hearing a lot of that?
Constantly see that, from biocontamination to poor maintenance contamination to some idiot putting some kind of other, transmission fluids and other stuff in the fuel. Yeah, that's a never-ending one. And I get pictures of filters and so on. I get to see what's going on there. And yeah, well, why do you mention that?
Well, I just we have a L5P here right now that has come in from a local auto dealer, and obviously we don't know the history. They probably don't either. It's got the classic P1089 code that has a bulletin regarding the fuel rail pressure sensor and wiring issue. And tech just pulled it out and looked back in the rail, and there's rust-looking material in it. So we think there's probably been obviously some kind of contamination in the system, and just didn't know if you're seeing that across the country or not much. My general,
we do. Yes.
My general feeling is we're certainly not seeing the failures quite like the CP4s in terms of, because of the pump failure. We're not seeing that, but obviously contamination is contamination. So
yeah, okay, yeah, contamination is definitely a problem. So yeah, definitely. So you're right. That's why we've always said in common rail classes, what's the number one enemy of common rail is contamination. We see it all the time. So yeah, I agree with them. So yeah, so you mentioned CP4. I try to stay out of the the social media crap. And our friend, that guy that from Utah that likes to talk about the CP4s, let's get one thing clear, and I'm putting it out there, and I'm saying it here on the forum. Yes, there are issues with CP4, but yes, are there millions? And yes, I can say that because I've talked to Bosch. Are there millions of CP4s that don't fail? And the answer is yes. Have we discussed already the issues with the CP4? Can we agree that we can make a CP4 live longer? The answer is yes. But when you go on social media and you scare people and telling them, if you have this pump, and he's holding a CP4, it will fail, and scare you, that's what I call scare tactics. And that's wrong. That's not ethically correct. Because I have had guys call me, hey, listen, I saw your YouTube videos. Do you mind if you take a call from them? And they say, I'm scared to drive. And literally, they're scared to drive their truck. They just bought a used Power Stroke 6.7 or a Duramax LML, and they're scared to drive it. Like, it's going to blow up. It's going to cost me $1,000. No. So for those of you that are watching, and yeah, it's wrong. It's wrong to say this pump will fail, because there are numerous other manufacturers that are using the CP4, and it does live a long time. But we have already talked about, I even have multi videos on Diesel Talk. It's like that pump can go a long time. So therefore, no, it's not okay to say you got this pump, it'll fail. And it's not fair to the average Joe that just wants his truck to run. He doesn't know about that. He's not involved with diesel. He just wants to put fuel in his truck and go, right? And maintain his truck. So that's not right. Yes, it'll work and it'll live if you know the things what to do. So if you don't know what those things are, obviously I have a YouTube video on there, but the biggest one, and those of you that know this should know this too, is low lift pump pressure, air, and obviously the lubricity factor, the quality of the fuel, like even Matthew just talked about. So yeah, and I'm probably going to throw a video out there talking about that crap about using scare tactics. That's crap. That's not correct. That's not okay to do. So you want to help the consumer, tell them what's taking it out, what they can do to prevent failure. So, and I know, and I'm guessing that
all right, it's 1 o'clock.
So they're probably saying, hey, they're doing that class action lawsuit against CP4, so they probably they got their hands tied, and I understand that probably. So therefore, yeah, I'm vocally saying it's not right to use scare tactics. So we'll leave it at that. So there, I said it. Anyways, anything else there? All right, we're just about out of time. Any other questions? let's see. Yeah, even Lee just said right there in the messages that your CP4 has 253,000 miles. There you go. So there
The
you
old
go.
Super Duty just keeps on running, Tony.
There
You
you
gotta
go.
put a filter in it. You gotta take care of it.
Take care of it. Exactly. So yeah. All righty. Any other comments? We're just about out of time. 10:01 right now. So therefore,
Tony, thank you for having me. And again, I sent you that presentation. Okay.
thank you, Kelly. You awesome. I don't care what people say about you. You're awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
All right, guys. I'm done.
Thanks.
I'm out of here. Any questions? Give me a call, and we'll see you till next time. God bless everybody.